Hey everyone, Brendan Center here. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me for Random CDs, Random Facts. So this is just a bit of fun here where I'm going to go around, blindfold myself, randomly select a CD, and we're going to talk about it and discuss it. I'll give you some random facts or history or things I might know about it. And again, as I said, it's all just a bit of fun to see what comes off of these walls here. So what's out on display in my music room here is 3,700 CDs. I've got a few more racks of other ones that add up to about another 800, so 4,500 of my more than 11,000 CDs are out on display. And we're just going to randomly go around and like I said, I'll blindfold myself and we'll pull something off and talk about it. But before we dive into it, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by turning on notifications, you're going to stay up to date on really cool episodes just like this. Random CDs, random facts. So let me get repositioned here and we will get started. All right, so here we are actually at the other end of my music room. And I'm in the section of just what I consider straight up rock. And so let's see what we find and can pull off of this wall. I'm going to simply blindfold myself and touch here, lift up. Oh, this one's a good one. I actually was just thinking about pulling this one out. So how sort of kismet is that? Patrick Simmons Arcade. Patrick Simmons being the guitar player from the Doobie Brothers. First solo album that he made, I believe it was his first solo album, I could be wrong, but a solo album that he made after the Doobie Brothers split up the first time in '82. This was '83, that's why I think this was his first one. So good. There's a lot of cool Doobie Brothers guests on here that just make this totally worthwhile. It's co-produced by Ted Templeman, who of course is famous for working with Van Halen and stuff. But I gotta say, it's oftentimes that solo material does not live up to the quality of the band that the members come from. I have to say, I think this album here, which is a Japanese pressing, came out originally on Elektra. I don't know if there's any other CD editions of this available, but for me at least, this one here is totally worth it if you can track it down if you're a fan of Doobie Brothers and stuff. Highly recommend Patrick Simmons Arcade. All right, still in the area of rock. We were just looking at this section here. I wanted to touch on this one over here now. So we're gonna do the same thing, see what we get. A Molly Hatchet. Kingdom of 12 is the title. I don't know if this was the 12th album or not, but this was later date era stuff. This was after their original lead vocalist, Danny Joe Brown, had stepped down. I don't think he had passed away yet, but he was having health issues, couldn't perform. This was also the newer lineup where Bobby Ingram came in, and kind of cool where Danny Joe Brown did a solo album with the Danny Joe Brown Band, and you get a reissue of it on Wounded Bird if you're looking for it. Bobby Ingram was his lead guitar player, and Danny Joe Brown handpicked him to restart the band in '89 with Lightning Strikes Twice. And then going forward, he ran the band, and when Danny Joe Brown got sick and had to step away, there were no original members left of the band, but Danny Joe Brown had tapped Bobby Ingram to continue this on, and that's what we got going forward with all these albums. This one here was a good one. It was a Japanese issue at the time. I don't know if it got a US release, but I couldn't find it. I had to import it as a Japanese one at the time. I think this, I'm just looking for the date on the back, is 2000, so 23 years old at this point. Can't believe, you know, some of these things where it was like, these were the later era, the stuff that was considered new at the time when I was getting it. Now it's so old, it's 20 plus years old. Heart of the USA opening track is really good, and the second one, Cornbread Mafia, also just really good one. It's kind of funny title, but very good. There's also a cool sort of I don't know what you want to call it, but just, you know, traditional southern rocker that starts off kind of as a ballad and then just gets very heavy, called Edge of Sundown. Do an acoustic version of that, and that's kind of cool. But yeah, later day era Molly Hatchet. I actually really enjoy this stuff. So we're just swinging things on around. We're still doing some rock stuff here. I'm going to check out what we got in this bin here. Let's take a look. Oh, cool. We got a Marty Balin Jefferson Airplane Starship or when I say Starship, but Jefferson Starship, you guys know what I mean. Solo album from him. And this one's kind of a cool one. It's called, it's actually a collection, Marty Balin collection called Balance. I guess that's a play on his name, Balin and Balance. I don't know. But what I like about it is we do have some stuff from Jefferson, Airplane, and Starship on here. We got stuff from his solo albums. KBC was really good. Kantner, Balin, Cassidy. It's like a little mini reunion of Jefferson, Airplane, Starship guys. And there's some unreleased material, but this was on Mirror Music, which was distributed by Rhino Records. You know, anything Rhino Records does is just really good, but I don't know if you can pause or zoom in on that and see all the track listing. But very cool collection if you're looking for all the Marty Balin sung stuff from the various projects he was part of, along with solo material. This too is another one of those ones that's very hard to find. If you can find Balance, it's worth picking up. I definitely would recommend this, along with some of his other stuff. In fact, just seeing where did I pull that from. I don't know if I have it out here. Looking to see real quick. I do not on the wall, but he's got some other great solo albums that are definitely worth checking out. In the meantime, though, you can have a look at this one. Okay, did you have enough of the rock stuff? I know usually I start off in glam metal, which happens to be one of my absolute favorite genres, or then I move into heavy metal. Rock always comes last. I just thought I would change things up and do it first this time. So I got the heavy metal next to me, and I got the glam metal back over there. We are going to touch on both of them. So if you're sitting around waiting for a sort of recommendation out of one of those, it's coming. All right, let's do the heavy metal. All right, this happens a couple times. In fact, this was one we already selected, so we're putting it back down. And I'm gonna try to move my fingers down a little lower. I think it has to do with where I sit and how I do it, that I incidentally will grab one like that. But let's see, let's go a little lower on this. All right, what do we grab? Okay, Testament, low. I have to say, out of all of the Testament albums, this is actually one of my least favorite. Doesn't mean it isn't a good album, but I ended up liking the period right before this and the period that came right after it. But this was the first album, at least as far as I know, where Chuck Billy, the vocalist, really got into almost the growl, like the death metal. And that was the thing that I really couldn't get into on this. He does some of it in the song Low, but Dog-Faced Gods in particular, it was just very heavy. But this album, 94, 95, somewhere right around there, I was trying to see, 94. And it was part of the era. You know, all the bands were down tuning, and glam metal and traditional metal were, you know, shunned and not looked well upon, and that sort of stuff. This was produced by Michael Wagner, which you would think, you know, I mean, he produced the first two albums by Skid Row, but this stuff was super, super heavy on. Actually, I should take that back. It's produced by Garth with the triple G at the beginning. It's mixed by Michael Wagner. So there you go. But still, in and of itself, a little interesting that he's the one doing the engineering on this as opposed to somebody else. Good album still nonetheless. But as I said, it's for the people that like the really deep, gravelly, almost death metal style vocals. And he moved more into that coming after this, but he did it with such veracity and commitment that I was able to buy into it on the next two albums. I'm kind of glad he's pulled back from that, though, and gone back to singing more of the way he has in the 80s and so forth. But there you go, Testament, Low. All right, and the whole section of glam metal here behind me. Let's see what we can find in this. And I missed it. I'm going to have to do it again. What's the odds of that? Missing twice. There we go. All right, Child's Play. This is one I actually don't know a lot about. I bought it simply based on, saw the cover, flipped the thing over, saw that it was produced by Howard Benson, who did a lot of glam metal bands in the late 80s, early 90s. It's on Chrysalis. I think it's 1990 this came out. But everything about it just sort of screamed that it was part of that scene. Members in here, John Allen, Brian Jack, Idzi, I-D-Z-I, and Nikki K. So yeah, I don't know a lot about them except that pretty good music of that era. I was really glad I picked it up. I found it used for a couple bucks, and I know a lot of you guys are fans. I've heard people ask whether I listen to Child's Play or not and stuff. I do have it in the collection. Maybe you guys know more about it than me, but this is actually one that I can't really give you guys any cool facts on. So I'm going to show you this one, but let's go ahead and do another one and see what we can get. Let's top this off with 6. All right, I'm going to go a little lower for this one. Hopefully I don't hit the shelving or anything. All right, what is this one? Fastway. All right, now this is the later day era Fastway. I think most people know who Fastway are. Quick, for the people that don't, we had Fast Eddie Clark of Motorhead on guitar, and we had Pete Way from UFO, and that's how it became Fastway. But after rehearsals, Pete Way was out. He couldn't get out of his UFO contract, and they kept the name Fastway. We have Jerry Shirley from Humble Pie. But this is later day era. It's actually after Dave King, who was the original lead vocalist, who's phenomenal. Sounds like Robert Plant was out. And in came, let me see if I can find the name real quick because I'm spacing on it here. This was after the Trick or Treat. So this is with Lee Hart. And Lee Hart, don't know where he comes from, but I mean, he was one of those guys that was seemingly everywhere for a while, popping up on different compilations, singing with different people and stuff like that. And I found a version of this on vinyl, and I got it, and it was just so amazing. I had never actually heard anything from Fastway, not even the early stuff. So I sort of found it going backwards. But when I saw this, and incidentally, the funny thing was I recognized a picture of Jerry Shirley off of it because I had been getting into some Humble Pie. So when I saw the vinyl in like a dollar bin somewhere, I'm like, what is this project with Jerry Shirley in it? And I solely bought it based on that. Then finding out Fast Eddie Clark and Lee Hart and so forth, and then going back further and everything. But this one here is actually the reworked version of it. The On Target album was this one here, and they didn't like the mix of this, so later on they went back in and they redid it, adding in different guitar parts and doing a remix to it, and I think re-recording parts of it and stuff like that. And this one does sound 10 times better, but there is the original On Target and the reworked On Target, and this one here added 4 bonus tracks to it, which was really cool. In particular, it did ones like Say What You Will, Trick or Treat, The Answer Is You, stuff that was originally done by Dave King, so you got to hear Lee Hart do his own versions of that. But there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed. You got these two here, which are really bonus ones. Then of course we got the Child's Play, so 3 of what I call from the glam metal, even though maybe Fastway is more of the metal. We got some Testament in there, and then we got 3 rock ones: a Marty Balin, a Molly Hatchet, and Patrick Simmons from the Doobies. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. As always, there's going to be a photo at the end of these album covers and things that you can check this stuff out in more detail. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.